Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with the daily technical update. It is the 29th of September. It is the last day of the week and the last day of the month and the last day of the third quarter. So where we end today on all markets is really interesting, and that could set the tone for October. So let's start looking at the S&P 500 that bounced a little bit yesterday. Actually, a nice bounce here after some heavy selling the past week or so. We're very close to test the 43.28. Now it's a resistance level. We could move back above, but we will still be in a downtrend. So a downtrend will still be intact. Where we end this week and month is also interesting on the, let's remove this one so we can easily see what's going on. Around this level here, 43.28, will we close above or below? That's going to be key. Nasdaq 100 actually closed more or less bang on. It's 14,687. I think we could still move a little bit higher, but we will still be in a downtrend. We need to break back above these peaks here to reverse the downtrend. We can also see the 55 moving average turning over 21, but we have the 100 coming up here, so we are a little bit of a limbo at the moment. So the short to medium term in a downtrend, medium to longer term pointing higher, but we are in a bearish sentiment and we are in a downtrend, at least for now, until that changes. On the European side, we have DAX bouncing higher today, and it actually formed what I would call a nice evening star or evening star bottom pattern here. So bottom reversal. So a move up to around 15,482 should be expected, possibly up to test the 200 moving average, which is still rising. The 155 moving averages, they are still declining, so a bit of a clash going into October around these levels here, between 15,250 and up to around 15,750 should be expected. So that's going to be really interesting. AEX also bounced after touching the 716 support level here, back above 730, but you can see the moving average is still coming down. The 200 moving is fairly flat to slightly up, but I think it will slowly start turning around. So there will still be very strong resistance at 750 if we can even get that high on the AEX. If we just have a closer look at the AEX, the CFD, which has also bounced nicely, it will still have a very strong resistance at the 750 level. Belgium market back above 3,551, but again, we are in a downtrend, but it will be crucial going into October. There will be a close. Can we actually get back up here? I don't believe we will. I think sellers will come back when we start going into October here next week. The CAC 40, which has been the strongest of all the indices, staying above the 750, staying above these support levels around here, and now we are bouncing back up above this rising trend line here. Will it hold? Hard to say. We can see that the moving average is also declining here, so we are kind of a very interesting point. Also, if we look at the weekly, trading around this lower rising trend line here in this triangle-like pattern. So there's really a fight going on, and they're trying to keep up the index. So next week will be very interesting. Can it get back above the upper falling trend line, or will it start resuming a downtrend again? And it is certainly correction time in euro dollar. Very interesting that it bounced from the 105 support, dipping just a little bit below, but it's been bouncing strongly yesterday, late in the session, and also this morning. And there should be room up to around 106.60 level here, which is the 38.2 retracement, testing the upper falling trend line in this channel. I believe there could be room if bulls really are taking control up to the 61.8 retracement at 107.70, but it will be a struggle. You can see the 55, the 200, and the 100 moving average. They are now coming down. And we are in a negative sentiment down here, and there's no divergence indicating we could see lower lows. But very interesting here also on the weekly that we actually bounced from the strong support here at 104.80, 105. Where will we end this week? Will we end the week and the month above or below 106.35? That's really something to look out for. Euro sterling bouncing a little bit. Sorry about this. Bouncing a little bit after being rejected at the 87. We could have another go here in the next couple of days going into next week at the 87 level. Cable also very interesting. It actually formed, let's zoom in a little bit, we actually formed a bullish engulfing candle here, which is fairly rare in the FX market, and it's not, since it's an FX is an OTC market, it's not that 100% reliable, but this, at least this is what our chart is showing, and we could see a bounce up to the 38.2 retracement at 123.50 and a change, possibly up to test the 200 moving average if they're really getting their act together, the buyers. But let's see. Bouncing also around, trading around the 55 weekly moving average here. I don't think we will end the week above 123, but that's going to be really interesting to see if we'll do that. But we are in a downtrend on the medium term also. Dollar yen has formed this rising wedge-like pattern here and testing the lower rising trend line. It's a fairly short one, but nevertheless, if it breaks out to the downside, well, there's support at 147, 30, 35 level, but we could see a move a little bit lower. What we could do, we could have an educated guess and say, okay, from the bottom to the top, could actually be a 61.8 retracement down to 146.50 around that level. We could see that on the dollar yen. The overall trend is still up on dollar yen. The euro yen still range bound, very close yesterday to test the lower band here, 156.60, but it did bounce, so we are still in this range. Aussie yen finally yesterday closed above the 95.85 and is moving higher. So and there's been a very strong move in Aussie dollar. We're going to look at that in a minute. But finally it broke above after what, 1, 2, 3 tries. The third is the charm, and now it seems to be on its way towards a 98 level. Very interesting move there. And when we are talking about Aussie, let's have a look at it. So what it did yesterday, it actually dipped below and actually confirmed the downtrend, but suddenly buyers came rushing in and lifted it back. So it was a bit of a false break, really. And now we are back in this range here again, where there's strong resistance at 65.20, 25 level. Sterling yen still above the 180.18. So not really much to say on that front. The dollar index, after closing above the 105.80, it's now back below again. It's really shooting up here. Maybe it's forming a shooting star on the weekly, and that's going to be really interesting for the next couple of weeks. Will it then slowly slide lower? And it could slide lower to the 104.40 level, which there's some strong support. But we could also move a little bit lower below that before we maybe have the next wave up. So, but 104.40 will be really crucial, and look out for a break of the lower rising trend line here. If it actually breaks that, then we are looking at 104.40. Gold did close yesterday below 1870, very key support. And if we just zoom out a little bit so we can see actually why it is, we have to go really far back to find that level. But it's around here. It's not the most, how can you say, strong support. So, but it is not that reliable, but still it's a guideline. but we are in a bearish sentiment. But I think it seems like we are trying to move back above 1870 again. So there's a bit of fight going on here. So maybe it was just a false break. However, we are in a downtrend short term. So any upwards move, at least on the short term, will be a correction up to around 1900 possibly. I'm not quite sure we will get that far. But at least a bounce. If it takes out the lows from today, expect gold to move lower. And as you can see here, it's actually getting some support from the 55 and the 100 weekly moving averages. But we are in a downtrend with lower lows and lower highs. We just need confirmation here on the RSI. Will it close below 40 or not? If it does, then we also have a confirmed bearish sentiment. Silver bounced a little bit yesterday, but we are still caught in this range here, really, between 22.15, which is really, really key, and the lower rising trend line. Copper, once again, bounced from the 362.70 and now moving up towards the 380 again, but there's some strong overhead resistance at 380. We have the moving averages coming down, 55, 100 and 21 the moving averages coming down, so the upside from here, at least short term, is fairly limited. On the energy side, the break of the peak here and the cancellation of the top and reversal pattern here, so that's why I'm removing it, got cancelled. And it seems like it's struggling to move to the resistance area at 98, 99, just below 100 here. But we are in an uptrend. But as you can see, there's a little bit of divergence. This peak here is lower than this one, so it is a little bit unstable, at least short term. So, but expect a lot of volatility. Here we have WTI closed bang on the 93.75, now back below. So this is a very strong, a very crucial resistance level on the WTI. And we also have divergence now. This peak is the highest one, this close the highest one, but the peak here on the RSI is lower. So maybe it couldn't. It was a false, how can you say, runaway higher. And look out for 88.20. If it takes out 88.20 on the WTI, then we're in for a larger correction down to around 83.50. Finally, on the yields, it's reached 200% of this correction here at 467 yesterday, then sold off, and actually in the process took out this rising trend line here. I think we are in for a bit of a correction here, but there's no divergence on the RSI. So, but expect a correction down to the 435, 440 level. But we are in an uptrend on the US yields. That's all for today. That was a long one. Sorry about that, but there's a lot of stuff to talk about on this, the last day of the month, the last day of the week, and the last day of the quarter. Have a nice Friday and nice weekend. Happy trading.